everyone. My name is Anna Lompriere and this is Jules O'Neill, and we are the Wayfinders for the Cornwall Memory Cafe Network. Good day to everybody. It is the Wayfinders. We are back again. We are very, very blessed to have the lovely Katharine Lewis with us today from Community Energy Plus charity. So the Wayfinders, just in case you don't know, we cover the whole of Cornwall between me and Jules. We get around a bit, going into the memory cafes, each one unique and different, supporting people living with dementia and their carers to access all sorts of support. And we definitely share about the Energy Plus charity, Community Energy Plus charity. And we thought today it would be a wonderful opportunity for people, for the listeners, to learn more about this incredible charity and the work that they do. So here we go.
Hi, Katharine. So could you tell us a bit about Community Energy Plus, who you are, what you're doing?
Hi, Jules and Anna. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you today. Yes, so I'm an energy advisor working with Community Energy Plus. We're a Cornish charity. We cover the whole of Cornwall and we offer free independent energy advice to anyone who needs it. A lot of the advice that we offer is over the phone, but we can do home visits where needed. And myself and two of my colleagues are on the outreach team, and we are going out regularly into different community spaces where we can meet people who may need advice or support, and also professionals working alongside them. So we offer a whole range of support. Lots of advice around ways that people can save energy and money. We can help people understanding their energy bills, speaking with their supplier if they need help with that. If people have energy debt, then we can support with that too, and that might mean referring on to another organisation that can specifically help with debt, but we can help with that initial conversation. We also provide emergency help for people to stay warm. So if people's heating has broken, we can sometimes help people access grants. If people are on prepayment meters and they're unable to afford to top up, we can help with top up vouchers. And we can help people access grants for heating repairs and upgrades, insulation and energy efficiency measures too. So yeah, we cover a lot within our team.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've actually seen you out at a couple of memory cafes and a few different community organisations. So I do know your outreach team are out there in Cornwall giving advice to people, which is great to see, you know.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yes, it's amazing.
So we have gone, as you said, to some of the memory cafes and also carer support groups, but we're also working across a lot of the community hubs, and we go to job centres, lots of different
Wow.
places. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And I bet your work starts to amp up as soon as autumn starts kicking in.
Absolutely, yeah. As soon as the weather starts to turn cold, our phone lines get very busy. Yeah.
Wow. So one of the things that both Jules and I know quite well a bit about and refer people to you is something called the Household Support Grant. Can you tell us, is it called the Household Support Grant? Yeah.
Household Support Fund.
Can you tell us a bit about that, Katharine, and how that might?
Yeah, so this is money that's come from central government to Cornwall Council and their various partner organisations that are distributing that. We're using it to help people primarily with their energy costs. So if people are struggling to pay for their energy, then we have a chat with them and find out a little bit more about their situation. And if they're eligible, we can put them forward for that. And that is help towards their energy costs. But we can also use that to help if people come to us and they're struggling to afford to heat their home. Quite often they're struggling to afford to cook as well. So, you know, we can use that fund to purchase slow cookers for people, which are obviously much more energy efficient way of cooking. And we've used it to get heated throws for people, which are like electric fleecy blankets that you have over you, which are a really, really good way of keeping warm, keeping the person warm. Obviously they don't heat the space, so if that's all you had, then you didn't have any other heating, you would start to get problems with damp and mold. But it's a really good supplementary heat, and they're very, very energy efficient. They only cost a few pence an hour to run, as opposed to you know, the plug-in oil-filled radiators, which a lot of people seem to rely on for supplementary heat. They cost around 70 pence an hour to run, so these are much cheaper, and they're really cozy too.
They are. Do you know what? My heating stopped working over the weekend, so I have been wrapped up in mine the whole weekend, and it's kept me really warm, actually. Like, the actual house was about 15 degrees at one point, but my body wasn't, so that was always good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that is something that we would say, actually, Jules, if people are struggling with the cost of heating, to heat the person rather than the home. Obviously long term, that's, you know, not great, but in the short term, absolutely, keeping the person warm. So if heated throws are great for that, but also layering clothing, keeping our extremities warm, hot food and drink, all of these kind of things, keeping moving. All of these things are really good for keeping us warm.
Great advice. So what else then? So you've shared that you go to different places and give all sorts of advice, and that you have these this grant that can help people, whether it's paying their it might be supporting them to pay bills, or negotiate, you know, like talking to heating or energy companies. It could be a grant to repair something to do with their heat, or to provide a heater or something like that, as well as looking at their heating bill and seeing how they might save. Anything else on that, Katharine?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the moment we used to do a lot to advice around switching between tariffs and providers, but since the energy crisis, we've held back from doing that, because most people now are on a standard variable rate, and are therefore protected by a price cap. So there isn't a lot to choose between energy providers. There are starting to be some fixed rate deals out there, but obviously we can't be sure what direction the energy market's going to move in. So we're kind of a bit, you know, it's a bit of a gamble, really, taking on a fixed rate at the moment. And if people are in a position to kind of take that risk, then they can. But, you know, if people want the protection of the price cap, we would encourage them to stay where they are. But obviously there's lots of advice that we can give around ways to save energy in the home, whether that be in the kitchen, and like looking at how they're cooking, if they are what they're using to cook with. So obviously using an oven is very expensive. So if people are using their oven, we would say to do as much as you can whilst it's on, and batch cook, freeze stuff and then reheat in the microwave. Cooking on a hob will be cheaper. Cooking in a microwave or a slow cooker or an air fryer will be even cheaper again. So and simple things like putting lids on pans will save energy, and only boiling the amount of water that you need in a kettle. So that's just the kitchen, for example. And you know, looking at how people do their laundry, there's whole range of advice that we can give. We have a really useful guide which we distribute. I think we've given some to some of the memory cafes, haven't we? Guide of saving energy and money. It's got lots of really useful tips in it. It is also available on our website. You can view it online and download it. So
thank you. And all the details for people to get in contact with you, if we'll have attached to this podcast, so people will be able to find your telephone number and your web details.
Yeah, I would just to kind of let people know at the moment, because it is a bit colder, gone a bit colder now, our phone lines are very busy, and if people call in, it is quite likely that you'd have to leave a message. So we would always encourage people, please do leave a message and someone will get back to you. Depending on the volume of calls, there might be a little wait, but someone will get back to you.
I've done that a few times, and you guys always do get back to me. Sometimes, it might be a day or two, but you do always get back to you if you leave a message with Community Energy Plus.
Yeah. And we will always prioritize people whose heating has broken and they've got no heating, and particularly if there is any vulnerability within the household. So certainly that would be the case for any household where there is.
So the advice, I suppose, if someone is giving you guys a call, if there is a serious problem like I don't have any heating, make that really clear on the message so they can prioritize a call back to you. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another factor is that if they have a vulnerability, so for example, they're living with dementia, they're elderly, that's classed as
absolutely
more important as well.
Yeah. They would get prioritized in in how
good to know
we call back. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to ask you now can you think of 5 tips for us? I mean, you've said some incredible ones to save energy already, and there was a few I didn't know, especially my oven. I didn't realize my oven used so much energy. But yeah, can you think of 5 tips? We're going to put you on the pressure now to stay warm, for how people might stay warm this coming winter.
Thanks, Sally. Yeah, sorry, I have mentioned a few already, but yeah, so what we would always advise a safe room temperature is somewhere between 18 and 21 degrees. So this would be for when people are in the home, and in particular if they're spending lots of time sitting and not moving around. So trying to keep your home at that temperature during the day is, when you're there, is really important. Clearly, if people are going out of the home, for example, coming to one of your memory cafes, you wouldn't necessarily need to keep the heating on. So using your heating programmers to time when heating comes on and off, and also hot water for when you need it, can be really helpful. So the heat is there when you need it. Obviously, some programmers are easier to use than others, and there are different controls out there that could be particularly helpful. Some are programmable, that we're looking at the moment. But yeah, it's using your heating programmer to make sure that you have heating and hot water when you need it, will help people stay warm and also manage their bills more easily. At night time, we don't need to keep our homes so warm if we are in bed and sleeping, but obviously, you know, some people might have disrupted sleep, and you know, if people are up a lot in the night, then obviously it's important to make sure that they're warm through the night as well. So but assuming people are sleeping through the night, then we don't need to keep the temperature quite so high. And you know, the advice then would be about making sure that you have the appropriate duvet on your bed for the season. And heated throws can be used in bed too. Yeah, they're not designed to have anything over them, so it's not like an electric blanket which goes on the bottom of the bed. They go over you, so you have to
they
be
would be on
careful
the
not to
very
cover.
top of the duvet rather than the duvet on top of the heated blanket.
Yeah, so I think they were probably, you know, they're probably best suited for if you're in a chair, because I'm not sure you would feel the full benefit if it was on top of a duvet, but they can provide additional heat. So yeah, so using your heating programmer to make sure that you have heat when you need it, and is really helpful for people who have we call them thermostatic radiator valves, the valves on the radiators that you can adjust the temperature of individual radiators. They're really useful to direct heat to the rooms that you need it in. So if there are rooms in the home that aren't used so much, we wouldn't ever suggest turning them off altogether, but you can turn them down and then turn them up in to 3 or 4 in the living spaces, or the spaces that you're spending most of your time. So it's, and you know, if people are struggling to heat their homes, then you know, heating one room is a really a good use of your energy. I'm not sure how many points that is. Are we up to 2?
I reckon you're probably up to, because you're right. You did say some before I asked the question, because you said about keeping extremities warm, using a heated blanket while watching television or being in the lounge, you know, like in one place.
Yeah.
And I'd not heard of these heated blankets.
Oh, they're great. They're so good.
Yeah,
I
so
bought one last year
nice
and I use it all the
present.
time.
I
Yeah,
have to say I've been out and bought one for myself too. It is yeah, it's really good for that extra little bit of heat. You know, if your heating has been on and gone off, or if it is a particularly cold day and you don't want to have to kind of fiddle with the controls, because controls can't not always so easy to manage. But yes, I mentioned earlier about layering clothing. Hot food and drink, that's a really good way of staying warm, and keeping moving. So gentle exercises can be really helpful.
brilliant.
Yeah, especially because when we start to get cold, our body's response is to direct the heat to our core, so our extremities can get quite cold. So keeping moving can kind of help re-energize,
Circulate the blood.
yeah, absolutely. Keeping your
Brilliant.
circulation moving. Got a couple of things to add, which we often talk with people about, one of which is the Priority Services Register, which is operated by the National Grid, who are responsible for our electricity networks in Cornwall. So they take care of all the electricity lines. And if you go on their Priority Services Register, then if in the event of power cut, then you would get additional support. So it's really important that any households where there is someone living with dementia, that they are on the priority services register, so that they do get that extra support if they need it. You get a special number to call, and you wouldn't be left without power for any length of time.
Wow, that is really,
but
really good to know.
But a lot of energy providers, I think all energy providers operate them too, and also the gas network. So, so if people need support doing that, they can come to us, and we can help put them on. And it would mean, when they're talking to their energy provider, that they would get extra support and consideration as well.
So definitely, if you're a vulnerable person, you should be on this register.
Absolutely,
right? Especially in the winter time.
Yeah,
and you're saying, Katharine, that you can do that for people, or they can do it themselves. So do they contact their own energy providers and say, we want to be put on the priority services, or is it a one place to contact?
So you can contact your energy provider and do that. They'll ask a few questions to look at what the vulnerability is within the household, but simply being of pensionable age is enough to go on the priority service register. But if you have any health or mental health conditions, then that is important for them to be aware of too. The route that we go down is we help people go onto the National Grid priority service register, and they will let other utility companies know. So but people can do that themselves if they would like to. We have a fact sheet about that on our website too, but people could also contact us if they like support doing that, or they could contact their energy supplier too, and they should be able to do it. The other thing that I wanted to mention was gas locking cooker valves can be really helpful for households where if they have a gas cooker, and if there's any concern around safety and how the cooker is used, there are safety valves that can isolate the cooker, which is separate from the heating system.
I see. So if someone was worried that their loved one might switch the gas on.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. With sort of safety things, I know a lot of our listeners have open fireplaces or closed fireplaces nowadays. Is there any safety issues in that? Should people be having a carbon monoxide alarm or something in a room with a fireplace, or what? Do you know anything about that? Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. So if for people are using any form of fossil fuel heating, then they would need to have a carbon monoxide alarm. But open fires and wood burners, yes, absolutely. But gas, oil, LPG, boilers as well. So we can help with those. We can issue them and post them out to people if needed. They need to be sited within 1 and 3 meters of the appliance at just below ceiling height. But smoke alarms too, obviously, really, really important to have if you have an open fire or a wood burner. We would routinely recommend for everybody to have them, but we can't issue them ourselves, but we can refer over to Cornwall Fire and Rescue, who can come out and do a free home fire safety check, which is really helpful, and they can fit smoke alarms while they're out. So but we would always encourage anybody who is relying on, particularly if they're relying on coal. We know there's a lot of households that are still in Cornwall that are still using coal for heating, to contact us to see if we can support them to move on to another form of heating, because obviously it's not great for health, and particularly as people get older, it can be quite challenging to keep the stoves clean and swept, and loading can be quite difficult. So yeah, we can support and advise around moving on to another form of heating.
It's amazing. So there's so much knowledge that you are carrying around every aspect of heat, whether it's heating or whether it's grants or support. And so, the best thing to do is reach out to Katharine and the Community Energy Plus charity people, and just trust that if you leave a message, you will be called back. You might just wait a little while, but also you've got a really informative website where there's loads of tips and information on all these subjects that we've covered and more. So you can have a look in the link that's attached to this to get the website.
On our website too, there's also a list of the events that myself and my colleagues on the outreach team are attending. They also, for anyone who's on social media, their upcoming events are listed on our Facebook page too, so you can have a look and see when we're next in your area. And it might be that we're coming to a memory cafe, but it might be that we're coming to another community space nearby. So you can, if you want to see someone face to face, then you could pop down and see myself or one of my colleagues too.
Wow. Oh, well, thank you. What a lovely way to spend a morning. And I'm tempted now to get myself a heated blanket.
Oh, yeah. It's well worth it. They're pricey.
Buy one for my mum.
But worth it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for your time, Katharine.
Thank you for inviting me to join you. It's been lovely talking with you.
Thank you.